about today was about how to reduce conflict in your communications. Keeping the conversation going really is what we're talking about. So what is conflict? Well, it's just having a different point of view about something, and it turns to conflict when you just don't agree and you can't find a way forward. And we're not always going to agree with everybody, but it's how you deal with that disagreement that causes the conflict. So conflict is when you're arguing, not speaking, you can't let it go. It's okay to have a different point of view, but how you deal with it is the main thing. One of the really big things to understand is we all live our lives by internal rules, things that tell us that we should be doing something, we must do something, this is the way it should be done. And everybody else has got those different rules too. So we've all got different ideas of how things should be done. And it's worth understanding if you're in conflict with somebody, if you don't see things the same way, has this come from your own internal rules? And actually, are your rules right? If they're right for you, that's great. If they aren't actually right, then, is there room for you to change your viewpoint? And being able to talk about where your idea comes from is really important. So think about, what rules do I live my life by? And if I'm in conflict with somebody, what's causing me to think that way? Sometimes you can see this iceberg. Sometimes the thing that you're discussing isn't the real reason. Underneath, there's something underlying, and that goes back to those rules, the principles, and the way you ultimately think your life should be led. And it's worth recognizing that the bit that you're arguing about on the surface might not really be what's going on for you. So have a think about, is this really what we're arguing about? Sometimes the way we communicate when we're having discussions with people has a detrimental effect on that communication. You might think, oh, well, it's okay, we're communicating, but actually it can quite easily get out of control. And that's because we've all got three different states of being within us. We can be in the adult mode, we can be in the parent mode, either controlling or nurturing, and we can be in the child mode, either rebellious or just adaptive. You'll just get on with things. And the way we act in conversations can cause other people to flip into some of these other modes. So my husband is a lovely fella, but he's very nurturing, and I'm a very independent person. And if I'm driving my car, I'll stop and I'll go to get out the door, and he'll say, stop, there might be cars coming. Now, that's him being very nurturing, but what happens is it brings out my rebellious child, and I say things to him like, I know I've been driving for goodness knows how many years. And then what happens is his rebellious child comes out. His child then says things like, oh, well, I'm just trying to show I care, and we end up in an argument. And now you can see how us flipping unconsciously through these different states can lead to an argument. And now I'm conscious of this, I can stop myself going into the rebellious child mode when he's shown how much he cares. So he's flipped into nurturing parent, I've gone into rebellious child, and then he does too. We stop that by me staying in my adult state, if you like. So if you're having bad discussions with somebody, if every time you start to talk about something you end up arguing, this might be why it's happening. And try to look at it and look at the unconscious things that are happening in that conversation. One of the other things we do is we get stuck in a loop, don't we? Because going back to the kind of iceberg, we're just talking about the stuff on the surface, and actually we don't get down into this underlying bit. And my suggestion would be, if you are stuck in an argument that goes, you always do that, no I don't, yes you do, no I don't, I think it would be a great idea to take control of the conversation. So if somebody says to you, you always do that, now you can say, look, I'm obviously doing something I don't realize I'm doing. Can you tell me when I did it so I can have a think about it? Now, if you say that in a non-confrontational way, they definitely can't come back to you and say, yes, you do. They've got to tell you what's going on, and you might find out that there's a rule they're living their life by. There's something that governs them that's going on for them that's causing them to react in the way that they do. And then you can change that circular conversation into something different, into a meaningful discussion. So watch out for those circular discussions that we all get ourselves into. And really, what's the way forward? Well, I think we just have to start thinking about, we don't have to agree with somebody to like and respect them as two different parts of the coin, unless what the other person believes in goes against our moral code and our kind of underlying way of life. Then we don't have to agree with everything that they do. But if somebody does go against your moral code, it's worthwhile thinking, should I really have that person in my life? Because really, we've got some core values that we just can't shake, things that are very, very important to us. And if somebody doesn't agree with those core things, then what does that mean to you as friends or partners or, you know, work colleagues or something like that? So sometimes there isn't a resolution, and you just have to agree to disagree. And other times when there isn't a resolution, you realize that it's just a step too far, and actually that person mightn't be the person you think they are. So keep the conversation going. Try to watch what's happening if you are getting into conflict with people and you're wondering what's going on. Maybe have a think about how it could have gone differently. Are you getting into circular discussions? Are you flipping into parent mode or something like that? And hopefully it'll help you to communicate better. Thank you so much for listening.